It's back to school season, and even if you are not going back to school or you don't have kids going back to school, there's something in the air about organizing and getting back into our routine. And if you're anything like me, you've probably fallen off your content creation routine, maybe a little bit. And don't worry, everything is solvable. And today I'm sharing a framework to identify your unique tendencies when it comes to building habits and specifically how they apply to your content marketing. Yes, this is a good, juicy episode because I love me a good framework. So let's jump right in. Welcome to Creator to Leader. Are you struggling to connect with your ideal customers online? Are you confused about the most effective way to market your business? If you're ready to become the go-to expert in your industry and stand out from the crowd, this podcast is for you. Hey, I'm Eugenia. That's Eugenia in Spanish, but you can call me E. My mission is to help entrepreneurs stand out online so that they can grow their businesses. I do this through comprehensive marketing strategies, impactful content plans, and storytelling leadership. We both know you are running on caffeine and big dreams, so let's dive right in. The review I'm sharing this week is by the Do-Over Mom, and it says, Creator to Leader has risen to become one of my favorite podcasts. With authority and clarity, Eugenia leads listeners to create more impact with strategic moves without overwhelm. I'm excited to hear every episode, then take the simple steps she shares. Thank you so much for your words. They really mean the world to me, and they really help the show grow. This is so important for podcast guests, for other people listening to the show, just seeing like, there are people liking this show. Let me check it out. So thank you so much. And if you are finding value from this show, I would love if you left a review. I would love to shout you out on my next episode because they, as I said, really mean a lot to me. So on to the episode. I started brainstorming because I took a little summer break. And my point of this episode was to really, really serve you in this season you are in. And then I realized that once the summer is over, everyone starts kind of like panicking, or let's say like speed walking their way into their goals. And as creatives specifically, we have this constant pull of, I know I should be doing X for my business, but I also have allergies to anything that feels too restrictive. So there's this pull of these two things, two sides of the same coin in a way. That leads to periods of restriction. And that comes with long periods of overindulgence. Because yes, it applies to so many areas of our life, but definitely it applies to the way we market our business. And my relationship with routine has not been a simple one because I was resisting content creation because I have this irrational feeling of being trapped into our routine. And I did a whole Instagram post on, like staying uncomfortable, and sometimes staying uncomfortable is staying put and not trying something new. And probably you realize that this summer when I had to take a couple of weeks off the podcast to regroup. And I think it's important. I'm all for consistency, but I think that sometimes you do need to have meetings with yourself and realign on the mission and the vision of your podcast. I think that's totally valid and super important. However, you want to make sure that it's intentional and it is not an excuse or a consequence of being too restrictive. The thing is that habit building in the traditional way and just consistency advice, usually they don't work for me when it comes to content or too many things. Like, I love the book Atomic Habits. Like, it is an amazing book. And it really blew my mind when I read it. But to me personally, it wasn't this life-changing experience. Like, I feel like one of the things I really, really loved was the whole concept of habit stacking and making things one after the other. But after a while, I was craving something new. So it was not like working for me. It really made a lot of sense in my mind, but I really fell short in the implementation. And while I'm still trying to implement healthy habits and routines in other areas of my life, for example, no more phone before bedtime, I'm also really proud to report that at this time, I've really gotten better at pulling myself out of content blocks. Like I get back quickly, I get clear quickly, I get my creativity flowing quickly, and I really get back to my healthy routines when it comes to my content, to my social media presence. So today, this is a great topic, and I was like, let me put everything in one episode, but your ADHD girly needs to break things up, and I need to let you sit and rest with ideas. So we're gonna do kind of chapter 1 today on this topic of staying consistent. Don't worry, I'm not gonna give you cookie cutter advice, things you've heard a million times, because I was like, no, traditional advice doesn't work for me. I need to find something different. I need to really give unique value, and I think I got it. Before we go into the workflow and the strategy, which we will, we need to identify and understand what type of discipline works best for us when it comes to content creation. So the first thing we need to do is tackle this issue by the root and redefine the way we see consistency and discipline. And I'm quoting author Gretchen Rubin here. And in case you're not familiar with her, Gretchen's perspective is grounded in the idea that there is no one-size-fits-all solutions when it comes to building habits or maintaining routines. Instead, she talks a lot about the importance of understanding your own personality and your tendencies so you can create systems that work specifically for you. So, did I hear personalization? Yes, please. So in her book, Better Than Before, Gretchen introduces her Four Tendencies framework. And again, I told you I love a framework. And this framework categorizes people based on how they respond to expectations. So the four tendencies, let me just give you a quick rundown, are upholders, questioners, obligers, and rebels. First, we have upholders, and they meet both internal and external expectations really easily. They really thrive on routines. They are naturally consistent, very type A. I'm thinking about my mom. But if you want another example other than my mom, think about Hermione Granger from Harry Potter. She is highly self-disciplined. She has her own high standards, like she does things because it's her own standard, but also she makes sure to play by the rules. And whenever she breaks the rule, like she struggles. Like that woman is not a rule breaker. For upholders, then when it comes to creating consistency and following the discipline with your content, you really need to approach it from a planners and checklist perspective. So you need to have a clear content calendar, set all the deadlines, setting the deadline for when the content is going out and when the content is being created, having a structure of, okay, today, these days I create all my content, or having an hour 3 times a week, where an hour a week you create all your captions, and then another hour a week you prepare all of your visuals, and then another hour a week you schedule and are engaged. Like whatever works for you, you need to set those systems, those checklists. Again, I love checklists for upholders. I created the framework, but I think like if I were to meet an upholder, I have checklists for everything, because of course I've had clients in all different tendencies, and I do have a lot of checklists. And for my clients that are more type A, consistent, and they're great at meeting the internal and external expectations, checklists are really, really amazing. Also, as an upholder, you need to have periods where you review your efforts and what's working and what's not working, because you need to know if your actions are in fact taking you closer to your goals. Because again, if you have an internal expectation, you are working towards a goal. So you need to have that feedback, right? That piece of external feedback of, okay, this is working. What do I need to adjust? So having periods of reflection and evaluation is very important, even if it's not that deep into analytics. Because going deeper into analytics on a weekly basis, that's for my next type, and that's the questioners. And as the word says, questioners question all expectations, and they only meet expectations if only if they believe they are justified. Like, they don't just follow the rules because they are the rules. The rules need to make sense. So for them, consistency and routines, they need to make logical sense to be maintained. They are not going to be falling into the whole trap of green juicing or like celery juicing just because. Like, you show them that it really works. They truly are driven by logic. They often challenge the status quo, not from a rebellious place because my rebels, they come later, but from a place of logic. They're very logical people. So think, for example, Sherlock Holmes. He follows rules and routines only if they make logical sense to him. And his approach to problem solving is very deeply analytical. He questions conventional methods. He's good at what he does. He's brilliant. But if it doesn't make sense to him, he's just not going to do it. So he really does a better job at meeting his internal expectations than meeting external expectations or questioners as a whole. So when it comes to content for questioners, a great way to approach routines is to take time to research and understand the why behind the habits they are trying to build. You cannot tell a questioner, post every day, bye. Like, they need to understand that it's working. I don't know for a fact, but I had a guest here, Chris. He's from the Business Lounge. He's a co-creator of the Business Lounge. He talked about SEO, and I feel like he's such a questioner. Like, you cannot convince him to be posting on Instagram every day if he doesn't see the data and the traffic coming from it. He's gonna put his efforts. He's gonna work hard as he see the results coming in. So when it comes to your content specifically, I would add a column in your content plan, in your content calendar that says, why does this help me? Or how does this help me, my audience? Like, they are not the people that are just going to post a trend because it's a trend. Like, sure, they'll do the trend if it serves the audience or the goals. And also, analytics are so important. Because once you start seeing your traffic go up, for example, with a specific type of content, you are going to be motivated to stay consistent. And also, a great thing to do for questioners is to see your systems as experiments. Don't think that your systems are the end-all be-all of what you're going to do or how you're going to act. It's more like, let me test this and let me let the data give me the feedback I need. A little word of caution though. You need to set a deadline for decision making, because if not, you're going to be stuck in analysis paralysis, because you are taking in so much data and opinions and like really analyzing things that you might stay comfortable in saying, oh no, I'm a questioner. I need to make this make sense. Like, you need to set a deadline and say, I'm going to gather information for the next week. And by Friday, I need to make a choice. Then the third group of people is the obligers. And they easily meet external expectations, but struggle with internal ones. They need accountability from others to maintain routines. They are often reliable, they're dependable, especially when others are counting on them. And I think this is mostly me. I think I'm like maybe 70 or 80% this and 20 to 30% the fourth one. If I'm being honest, that's why I love coaching so much. And I mean, this is intuitive, I think, like just having that accountability. So a great example of an obliger is Monica Geller from the show Friends. She's always ready to help her friends meet their expectations, but often she does that at the expense of her own needs. Like, these people tend to be people pleasers. And Monica loves it when others rely on her. For example, that's why she organizes events and offers support and cooks. Now, that doesn't mean that as an obliger, you're going to be a great cook, because I am not. But I can so relate with being the person who always offers help, always says yes. Like, I really, really easily meet the external expectation. I am really competitive and I am good at knowing how to win a competition. So I'm good at like finding my way to success. But I do struggle when I set my own expectations. So a great, great way to approach routines and discipline as an obliger when it comes to your content is to get accountability. That's going to be your best friend. Don't try to change yourself. Like, there are so many things that you could probably use some reworking and refining in your life. I don't think that being an obliger is necessarily a bad thing as long as you don't compromise your morals and your values or your safety in order to make other people happy. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. But there's nothing wrong with recognizing to me, it's easier to meet external expectations than to meet my internal expectations. Like, that level of self-awareness is one of the things I'm proudest, like, the most. And I think it's partially why I've had so much success and why my clients love me so much. I mean, I'm trying to be humble, but that's something I'm really proud of, is really the satisfaction that my clients get after working with me. It's because I really go out of my way to support them and help them. And we have amazing, like, I've had amazing client relationships, a lot of respect, because also boundaries are important. So, don't want to get on a tangent. I just want to say, being an obliger doesn't mean that you need to change, but also understand that there are areas where you might need some additional support with accountability. So there's nothing wrong with having that sense of responsibility. I love my online communities. I love Judy Weber, for example. I've been a part of her community for a very long time, and she is a Christian coach that she keeps me on my toes. She calls me out on my BS constantly, and I love that. That's also why I join group programs whenever I want to achieve something for my business. When I want to, for example, right now I'm planning the launch of Launch Story Lab, and I really wanted to work on the copy, make it better, because it's like my next challenge as a business owner is like really getting better at copywriting, not only writing. And I knew that probably I could learn it on my own, but I really love the group environment, having deadlines, having homework, having review dates. Like, it keeps me moving. Like, I'm creating all these assets, I'm creating like sales pages and like emails. Like, I'm so happy because that really works for me. So communities are very powerful to obligers. And also because communities create this sense of expected behavior or actions. And they can be a great motivator to stay consistent. Like, if you join a running club because you really want to start running, not that I know that, because workout to me happens in the comfort of the gym with AC. But if that's you when you want to start running, having that community around you where the expectation is to be healthy, and maybe they go out running every Saturday, and then you're like, okay, I'm not going to go drinking on Friday because I'm going to be hungover. And that's like not really approved in my community. So I think communities, if they're healthy, they can be super powerful when you're trying to build discipline and stay consistent. And also, I love setting external deadlines, which is why I love the idea of launching, because it creates a timeline for you to show up and complete certain actions in a specific period of time. If you're like, oh, I'll just market my business, like, what's the urgency? So when you launch, specifically if you launch with me as your creative content director, it's that accountability of this is going to happen. Like, you need to market your business. And finally, we have our rebels. And rebels resist both internal and external expectations. They really value freedom, they value choice, and often reject routines unless they're framed as expressions of their identity, expressions of their desires. And as I told you, for me, this is the other side of the pendulum for me. When I've been obliging for too long, I get rebellious. I want to go against the grain. I'm like, I want to do things differently. So I tend to balance these two. I when I get into like a very strict routine, I'm like, no, I need to do something different. An example of a rebel is Jack Sparrow from Pirates of the Caribbean. He's unpredictable. He resists any form of control, any form of authority. He likes to do things his own way. And sometimes that means that he's going to disregard the rules or conventions. Sometimes he wants to do something, like he says he wants to do something, but the thought of committing and staying put feels exhausting to him. So he ends up doing something completely different. So for rebels, if you're a rebel, again, I don't want you to think, oh my gosh, I need to go into hypnosis so they can turn me into an upholder, because as a rebel, I'll never be able to stay consistent with my content or marketing my business. No, because there are strategies. So for rebels, a great way to approach routines when it comes to your marketing is to frame them as a choice or as an expression of your identity. If you try to do something that you relate to an identity that doesn't define you, you're going to have a very hard time keeping it up. Even if it sounds super noble, even if it sounds incredible to other people. I'll give you an example with weight loss. A few years ago, I really wanted to go on a weight loss journey, get healthy, and I kept failing until I found a nutritionist, and she's like, why do you want to do this? Like, why haven't you done it? And I was like, well, I want to do it because I want to be my best version of myself, for my family. And she's like, are you sure? And I was like, well, really? I just really want to look hot. Maybe I shouldn't say this in public, but that's true. That's what I said. I'm like, I really just want to look hot naked with my bathing suit. I want to like wear certain things, and I really like my face when I'm leaner. And she's like, okay, that works. I can work with that. When I admitted that to myself, it was like a switch. Like, I was not tempted by food. I'm lying. I was tempted by food. I was struggling for like a solid month because, I had like sugar addiction and all these things. But I was able to do it. And eventually I was not even craving those things. Like, people could be eating burgers next to me and I'd be like, okay, fine, cool. I lost 20 pounds and I kept it out for 2 years because I really, I knew the thing that I related to my identity. So with this example, even though it's a little silly, it just goes to show that what's important to you doesn't have to be popular in the society, and it doesn't have to be something that's like trending or sounding noble. It can be literally something very unique and personal to you. Another thing for rebels is to be spontaneous and be loose with your routine. Maybe instead of a strict creation schedule, right, like the Upholder, maybe you need more of a menu of actions that you can choose from. You get to set your goals, but you are not going to be the person that's going to fill out their calendar perfectly every second of every single day planned. That's not going to work for you. You're going to know what you need to do because now you have a goal that matches your identity. And you are very clear about that. It's coming from something that's real for you. Like, you're not doing it because society expects that from you or because, I want to do this out of my own will. It's like, heck yes, I'm going to do this even if it's not popular. I even think that goals that sound a little bit unpopular, like losing weight because I like the way I look when I'm leaner, I feel like even they are more motivating for the rebel, I think. If you're a rebel, you can fact check me. Another tip for rebels is to reframe your content goals, because a traditional goal of, growing my account by X amount of followers or having like very numbers driven goals, while they are important and you need them, and this is very important as you grow your team, make sure that like the first person you hire is an upholder or someone very structured. Don't hire another rebel because you're gonna be making a mess together. But if you are on your own, or let's say you're only taking care of your content on your own, like your team is taking care of other things, maybe the idea or the goal of growing by X amount of followers is not motivating to you. If that's the case, find something that challenges you. For example, challenging the status quo in your industry. Again, I don't know. I'm getting deep and personal by the end of this episode. I don't know what's in the air. But this year, I reached a very important milestone in my business, and I was like, okay, let's go. What's next? I'm going to grow. And I was like, I don't know what's motivating me to grow. And suddenly I had this vision of creating this, I guess, like nonprofit arm of my business that was helping the next generation of entrepreneurs building and marketing their business at a very, very affordable cost and making this program available in both English and Spanish. Is that something that I'm going to launch in 6 months? Probably not. But I have the vision of I want this business to also sustain that part of the business. Like, I want to fund recording and the platform and all of these things and the marketing of this program. And I don't even know. I don't know when this is going to happen, but I know that this is something that motivates me. And maybe for someone else, they'd be like, I mean, it's nice, but it's not what gets me out of bed every morning. To me, it is. So that's what I mean by finding motivations that are unique to you. Like, rebels need to be free to be motivated by whatever they want. And I'm here to validate you from a rebel to another rebel. So to summarize, we have our 4 tendencies when responding to expectations. We have the upholders. They are great at meeting both internal and external expectations. We have our questioners, and they are great at meeting internal expectations, but they question all external expectations because it needs to make sense to them. Then we have obligers. They are great at meeting external expectations, but they really struggle with internal expectations. And then we have the rebels. They resist both internal and external expectations. Like, they know they need to be posting on social, but they don't want to. Like, I know I should, but like, I don't want to. So you have the solutions for all of this when it comes to your content, when it comes to your marketing. I really believe that this is going to help you revitalize your content system so you can finish off the year strong and start also respecting and loving yourself a little bit more in the process as you realize that your current tendencies can be a very fun ally in making your marketing and your content goals. Next up, I'm going to be talking about the actual process of rebuilding your content system. So you can now implement what you learn, but take action on this episode. Don't sleep on this episode because I want you to get in the right mindset, okay? Talk soon. Un beso. I hope you loved this episode. If you connected with the podcast in some way, please rate it and review it on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. That is the #1 way you can support the show. And because sharing is caring, share it with a fellow entrepreneur wanting to become a leader, not just a creator. I am so grateful for you. I'd love to hear from you. Shoot me a DM over to @eugenia.woo. That's @EUGENIA.WOO. And if you only send me a microphone emoji, I will know that you stayed till the end. Thank you for listening. See you soon.